Hey, how's everyone doing out there tonight? Thanks for joining us for Bait Shop Talk Live. First off, before we kick off the show, I just want to say our prayers are with all the folks over in North and South Carolinas during the storm. I just hope everyone's doing okay. If we got any viewers from North and South Carolina tonight, our thoughts are definitely with you. We hope that you and your family are okay. And tonight, Timmy couldn't be with us tonight. He had surgery on his eyes. So if he did join us tonight, he'd be over here looking like Stevie Wonder. He wouldn't know if he was live or not, or if he was even on the screen. So, yeah, like what Bubba's doing. So Timmy couldn't join us tonight. So filling in for Timmy was our special guest from last episode, Alex with 904 Fishing.
Going on, everybody?
Alex, good to have you back. And with us, who's always fashionably, is Bubba.
I'm here. I don't know, man. I'm on time. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about your last video with that big sun hat and a mullet just flowing out the back. Yeah, that's it.
I was telling Tim, I was like, look, man, I'm messing with him after I was tearing up the reds. If you guys hadn't seen that, me and Tim just went red fishing last weekend, and I was like, all right, I'll tell you the secret. You got to have two hats. You got to have a bass hat and a red hat, and this is my red hat.
You know, that's true. I make fun of you about that, but I have the same. I have my kayak fishing hat I use for saltwater, which is a full brim hat that I used to wear when I was in Iraq, and then I got my bass hat, which is a regular ball cap that usually has Vexin on it 9 times out of 10.
Well, that's the secret, guys. If y'all ever needed to know, there it is. Get you a different hat.
Yeah, if you don't think fishermen are superstitious, try to bring bananas in somebody's boat or take their lucky hat from them.
No, we don't have a problem.
Right.
Can't have bananas in the boat.
All right. I guess let's just jump right into it. We'll go into the fishing report. Saltwater. Saltwater has been doing really good. The mullet run is in full effect. There are mullet everywhere. I'm talking everything from perfect little 3 to 4 inch finger mullet, which is what I like to use for bait for flounder and reds, all the way up to the big hog leg mullet like you can use for sharks and tarpon. So you definitely have the variety in the creeks and in the river. And I believe the pogies are still off the beach as well, last I heard. Freshwater, it's been a mixed bag. I've been fishing robin. You guys know from one of my last videos, I've been fishing robin. I tried to get out in St. John's, but I wasn't able to do that. It seems to be hit or miss. They're definitely in transitions is what they're focusing on. So if you can find an area where it's like a hump, and there's deeper water next to it, or it doesn't even have to be out in open water. It can just be a hump along the bank. Like you'll see a mound of grass, like an island of grass, and this open water behind it. And that little pocket, you'll find bass up in there. If you watch my video where I'm throwing the frog, most of my bites came in the open pocket behind the pads, not in the pads. Get out of the house, go fishing. Thanks for joining us, man. Glad you made it. I know a lot of us are still watching the Jag game. And speaking of which, touchdown Jaguars.
There we go.
Yeah, we let the Patriots come back, and now we just answered. Now it's 31-13 for those that are missing the Jaguar game.
We don't need a repeat of the championship game, so good. Get on them.
Oh, man. No offense to any – I don't think we even have any New England people here that watch the show. But if you come across here and you're from New England, I'm sorry, I can't stand the Patriots. But anyway, we're getting way off topic. This has turned in from Bait Shop Talk to ESPN.
I know, right?
Right? What was it talking about? Oh, I tried fishing deep. Couldn't get any bass deep. It seems like all my bites came shallow. Everyone I've talked to so far, you would think during the summertime, if you watch all the YouTube experts out there that fish, in Texas, they're like, oh, fish deep. Summertime, all the bass are deep. It hasn't been my experience. All my bass I've caught so far have been anywhere from 2 to 4 feet of water. Maybe it's just the Floridian in me, and I like to hit the bank. I did catch some deep water fish, and we'll get into that more when we get to the tournament section. So, Bub, you want to take it away?
Yeah, sure. So we've been dealing with weird weather here where today it is, I don't know, they were saying on the Jag game at kickoff it was 97 degrees at the field down there. We had like a full solid week where it was the mid 80s, and of course I had to jump on bass fishing with that. Finally cooling off a little bit. Water temp was down to mid upper 80s. 2 weeks ago, that's when I was bass fishing there. Caught 7, 8 in a few hours. Everything was 2 to 3 pound range. It was pretty healthy, surprisingly, coming out of summer. They're usually skinny as can be. Did pretty good with that. It was all skinny water too. I mean, I was in the kayak when I did that. It was early morning. Once the sun got up, everything died off and it got hot. It's been creek fishing for bass. Well, I say for bass, fish brackish water a couple times in the creeks, and the water temp was still down from what it was. Didn't catch much, caught the stray one here and there, but every time I went creek fishing, my focus wasn't really on bass. We started out the day red fishing, and then kind of switched to bass later on, and so I wasn't really expecting much for bass there. Creek fishing for reds has been fantastic though. It's like Joe was saying, saltwater in general has been great. The creek fishing for reds has been fantastic. If you hadn't seen that, I know a lot of you guys are subscribed to both of us. Me and Timmy went out last weekend because he's been on this, he caught his first red the week before, then wanted to go red fishing with me. I was like, yeah, man, we'll go. I caught a 26, a 21, a couple dinks. He caught, I think, was like a 19 or something like that, and then he was tearing the bass up. But, I mean, it was upper, slot red, just destroyed my reel. If you guys hadn't seen that video, you got to see it. It was absolutely ridiculous. Rusty V was saying the recover after the real issue was awesome. I thought I was going to lose it. I mean, I'm amazed at what happened there. I lost I set the hook on this big old red, just on a spook early, and set the hook on that big old red. And I lost the anti-reverse bearing on my reel. Now, this is old cheap reel, one of my saltwater things that I didn't mind that I tore the reel up. But, so he starts running. I'm backlashed. I'm wrapped around my rod tip. All hell is breaking loose. We're getting the boat drifting back into the trees because it's a hard incoming tide. About lost the GoPro in the water. And then got it all untangled. He starts running and pulling drag again. And then he wraps me around a crab track. Finally get it out of the crab trap, finally get him up, everything squared away. And then I got to teach Timmy on the fly how to fold out a fold out net. I mean, it just folds up and lock it into place, but I had to tell him how to do that while I'm trying to hold this thing by the front grip so the reel doesn't come backwards and just roll free spin backwards, get him in there. And, in the process of getting them unhooked, I dumped 3 different rods in the water, saved them all. Thank goodness. But it was just a horrible mess. But the moral of that story is, creek fishing is good. It's good right now. Big reds. Alex, what about you? I know you went out to the inlet out farther, closer to, I mean, not really surf fishing, but close to the surf. I don't know if you've been surf fishing at all lately, but how was the inlet?
The inlet yesterday was that's when I went out. It's pretty good. I've learned because I've not been a huge saltwater kayak angler. I've learned that tides are important. You have to learn your tides. You have to time your tides. If not, you will have either a horrible day of fishing or an absolute awesome day of fishing. And that's been my 2 experiences this year. Is I had a really, really bad day of fishing where I only got 1 fish in 8 hours, and then I had a great day of fishing and I slotted out on my reds and almost did a slam in just under 3 hours. So it all depends, what kind of bait you're using, where you are, timing the tides, and knowing what to do and where to throw it.
Definitely. Yeah. And you're talking about Fort George Inlet, of course, right? The stomping grounds of our friend, get out of the house and go fishing.
Yeah. Yeah. You might see him out there. There's a good chance he's always out there. I mean, I always call it the inlet because it's just the most frequent inlet that I go to fish. But yeah, that's what we're talking about.
There's also Nassau Sound.
I know.
If you can get out there on a good day, if you want to hook into a tarpon, that'd be your best spot. There's a lot of mullet schooling out there, and every person I've seen that's been fishing the bridge there has been seeing tarpon rolling every day now for probably the last month, if not more. So we definitely need to get our act together, all of us, and get out there and soak some mullet and either catch us a big old shark or a tarpon. Either way, a bucket list kind of fish.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, they're all over Doctor's Inlet too, because about every one of Alex's video, as I see, there's some tarpon rolling in the background behind him.
Right.
Yep.
He's like, can someone tell me what these are? And like, I wanted to be like, it's a Loch Ness monster.
That's a shark.
Listen,
Shark.
listen. That first video when I was magnet fishing, all right, I saw 2 different fish. I've gone back, I've looked at the footage. One was a big jack, one was a big tarpon. Everyone kept telling me it was a tarpon, but I saw 2 fish. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right. Well, they get up. I haven't been in there. I thought about going. I didn't have the chance to yesterday. I had to go into work, but I thought about going into Mill Cove. They get into Mill Cove this time of year too. If they're pushed all the way up into Doctor's Inlet, I'm sure they're in Mill Cove as well.
Hey, little Roy's on here. How about them Jags? That's right. How about them?
Yeah, that's right.
31-13 still, and we got 3 minutes left in the fourth, so hopefully they can seal the deal. I really would hope they wouldn't let them come back on that much. So, Bubba, did you get anything your mystery tackle box this month?
Yeah, I didn't even tell you about this. Was new to the other day. So I switched over because we have all been on this saltwater kick here recently because it's so freaking hot and hard to bass fish. I switched over to the saltwater edition for this month. And, for like you told me when I first started with it, I'm not very happy with it. I'm switching back to the bass one next month. But let's dig into it here, and I'll show you what I was disappointed with.
Come on, make all those 9-year-olds proud on YouTube.
Yeah. They got whatever brand that is of the fish bites thing. Whatever.
House brand fish bites.
Yeah. That's usable. Suspending. I'm guessing from suspending it's a jerk bait, but it looks like a crankbait lip. That's usable though. What in the world, guys? Come on. Hey, it glows in the dark. Yeah, not too cool there. Some jewelry, some bling.
Hey, there you go. There's something for Alex and Timmy. I'm sure they'll take that off your hands.
Yeah, you guys can have those. Now
tourist rigs.
I'm not sure how I feel about this now. I did not know that Big Bite Baits, like I'll get Big Bite Baits a lot. Now, Big Bite Baits is they're a cheap brand of soft plastics, and they are pretty much direct knockoffs of other baits. I mean, just like exact copies of them. Like I got 100 pack of stick baits, 100 pack of a creature thing because they're cheap and they're pretty much exact knockoffs of something else. Now this one, I'm interested. I'm going to use it. And, so it is a shrimp with like these weird little tails on the end of it. It's, the rest of it looks like every other kind of shrimp, except it's got like these 2 floppies at the front, which are, kind of cool. But I'm interested to see what that does. Can't be bad. But, that one was kind of cool. I didn't even know Big Bite Mates made that. And of course, they're fortified with bite juice, and bite juice smells a lot like soft plastic. Didn't know if you guys knew that. It smells, that bite juice. Yeah, it smells like soft plastic, like plastisol. But that was probably the only cool thing that I really got out of it was the Big Bite Baits shrimp. We'll see how they go. Switching back to the bass box next month, though.
Well, it could be like Gambler. Smell like pickles.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, I'm switching back to the bass box next month. I like the bass boxes. I've had good luck with those. Saltwater box, first one I got. Not too impressed with it. I just bought a pack of Z-Man shrimps the other day that going to work better than those, I can tell you that. And the rest of that stuff I'm probably not going to use.
When it comes to shrimp lures, I generally use only 2. I stick with the good old DOA shrimp. That's like my go-to if I'm really especially the glow in the dark color, or what they call like a cotton shrimp, which is got gold flake on the bottom and like the glow in the top on the back. Those seem to be 2 really good colors, and they kill the trout around here. If you ever do some night fishing for trout, that glow in the dark shrimp is like perfect. It's like money. And then of course the second shrimp that my choice would be, of course, gulp shrimp, either in new penny or like pearl with neon tail. Those are my really 2 shrimp imitation choices, which they should be running 2 right about now. I think they're catching them a little bit smaller. I don't know if the bigger ones have moved in yet.
They have not. No, that's been the comments that I've heard, is that they are surprisingly not in for this time of year. Like it's less than normal. Now on this spoon, guys. So there's this, if you want to fish a spoon for reds, of course, it's no surprise. If you don't know about that, you should. It's a Johnson silver minnow. Now I know that's gold. That's the redfish color. Still called a silver minnow. Don't do this kind of. Get rid of that. Get that out of here. Go get a couple of these. Go get a couple of those. That's how you do it.
Save those for your salmon fishing expedition when you go up north.
Seriously, yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do with that.
Right. I guess we'll move on to tournaments. It seems like when the summer gets here, the tournaments seem to slow down because, one, you don't want to keep the bass in a live well when it's 97 degrees outside and the water temp's going to be just as hot. We want to try to keep them alive. So my last tournament I had was on Kingsley Lake on Camp Landing, and it was a night tournament. And Kingsley Lake is just one big, giant, grassy swimming pool. It's like really clear, and it's just like perfect circle. And this goes into our next topic. It's also a happening party spot too, sadly. So while you're trying to fish, if you guys ever seen any of my Kingsley videos, you're out there fishing, but there's 20 million jet skiers and wakeboarders, and it's a small lake, but you'll have people out there with center consoles and twin outboards pulling tubes and stuff around. So you're having to deal with that during the day. That's why we try to have our tournaments at night. So you think you would escape some of that, but no, there's some guys still out there at wake boats until like 6 in the morning when we were getting ready to go. Our tournament was from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. The guy that won it with 26 pounds, and he did that with help. Yeah, he did that with help of an 11-pounder that he caught. They caught 11-pounder and they caught a 9-pounder. A different guy caught a 9-pounder. The biggest bass caught was 11 pounds, and it was like in 36 feet of water. So I was not fishing deep enough. But that's the way Kingsley fishes. If you ever get a chance to fish Kingsley, you're not going to get nothing around the bank. You got to go deep. They were schooling out there, but the ones that were schooling were their typical little 1-pound bass, and they were schooling up on these small minnows, and they were shallow. And I was even throwing a shaky head at them, which looks nothing like a minnow, and they were still eating it. So they definitely are there. But I caught most of mine on the deep grass, anywhere from 12 to 17 feet deep. And the key to that, catching them in the grass, you couldn't just pull in the middle of the grass bed. They were right on the edge, on the outside edge, where it went from a hard, grass to sand. They were right there, just following along that edge. And the only thing I could get in a bite was a shaky head finesse worm. And I just throw it along the bottom of that, and then you feel the thump, and you're fighting a bass up from 17 feet of water. My partner, the biggest bass he got was about 3 pounds. The biggest bass I got was about 2 pounds. But there's truly some monsters in that lake, as the guys that won and came in second place, proving that. Everybody's got their own little secret numbers out there. That's the thing. So, and everybody has their own wrecks. They had a big event out there that night too. So about 5 o'clock in the morning, we saw these giant stadium lights come on. We didn't know what the heck was going on. Like, man, they're really throwing down for this weigh-in, But they turned out to have some kind of Iron Man backpack event going on. That's what it was, and that was the starting point. We heard music blaring. So you're trying to catch bass. It's 5 o'clock in the morning when it should be absolutely quiet, and there's wakeboard boats and an Iron Man competition with a DJ booth going on,
Hey, talk about the shaky head, though. That's one of my summertime kind of secrets. If nothing else is working for summertime, you obviously switch over to finesse stuff because it's so hot. Shaky head. I'm sitting on video of one where I went out to the Goodbees, was throwing everything under the sun, couldn't catch anything. Switched over to shaky head, caught like 7 in an hour. I mean, everything was small, but that's one of those summertime kind of things.
The shaky head, it was my first time actually catching a bass on a shaky head. Normally I never threw one before. So I needed, drop shot wasn't working. The weight kept getting caught up in the grass. So the grass was about 1.5 feet deep. So you'd go to pull the drop shot and you didn't know if you had a fish or you're just pulling it out of the grass. So I went something more direct and I went on with a shaky head. For those that don't know what a shaky head is, and I bet it'd also be great for saltwater too. It kind of look like an eel down there or something. It's just a basic jig head with a hook, but it has like a corkscrew on top of the jig head, and you twist your worm onto it, hold it, and then you just kind of rig it where it's weedless. And so basically you're throwing a little jig head with a finesse worm about 5 inches, about 4 or 5 inch worm. And I was just hopping along the bottom, and it's a real finessey when bass are kind of slow presentation when they're, they don't really go for it, but it's kind of like us. If someone throws a, in my case, like a pinwheel next to me, and I don't really feel like a steak, I'll eat that because it's right there and it's tasty. So it's the same kind of way for a bass. He might not feel like a T-bone, but he might eat a potato chip. So that's basically what you're putting out in front of him.
Yeah, and it's like like it stands up too. So whenever you throw it, and you're really just kind of twitching it, and like they like to sit at like a 45-degree angle most of the time, and it just sits there and shakes. That's why it's called a shaky head.
Right, he's basically sitting there on the bottom, waving hi to the bass, like
it looks like
spaghetti in there,
like something nose down feeding, and it's kind of wiggling to keep nose down, and it's real good finesse whenever like that's the first one you've ever pulled out on it. That's really one of my like last resorts. Like if nothing else is working, all right, here comes the shaky head, and usually does pretty well.
Well, if nothing else is working for me, I'm pulling out the speed worm.
Yeah.
But that's something I want to try to play with. I want to try some freshwater baits like bass type lures in saltwater. Like I think it was Get Out the House, Go Fishing was talking about if you use a bass frog in saltwater, it works real good. It's kind of like that hollow body mullet that Live Target sells. I want to try that. Like a blue or silver looking frog. I know they got some that are like a blue. I think they call it like blue shad color. Try that shaky head idea. I would think an Alabama rig in saltwater would kill some sea trout during the winter because it's some school of bait fish, like a school of mullet coming through. I think I haven't heard of anyone ever doing it. If you look at YouTube and you type in Alabama rig saltwater, you won't find it. No one's ever done it, and I don't know why. I mean, if it would work for bass, why it wouldn't work for redfish or trout?
I was throwing the double plopper this morning. I was bass fishing a little bit, like shore fishing this morning, throwing the double plopper, and I didn't really like it too much for bass, but I could see absolutely where that would work in saltwater because it looks like a little mini school with something running.
Yeah, that's what I think. We got some folks joining in from Utah asking about carp fishing. Not too many carp here in Florida. Most carp that we have, like we were saying in the comments, are grass carp, and I don't think it. The only time I've ever seen a common carp caught was when I was in Mississippi by a friend of mine that actually snagged one with a chatterbait, and it looked more like a giant goldfish than a common carp. So, not too many carp around here, but I like, if anybody else is a fan of his channel, Catfish and Carp on YouTube, I watch him all the time. He's over in Tokyo catching them right now on just a big piece of bread.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all we got, to grass carp. Now, I have seen guys bow fish for those grass carp, though.
Yeah, so they'll do the same for mullet. The big giant mullet like you see in the springs, they bow fish for them and tilapia.
Yeah. I was thinking about rigging up if you've ever seen those guys do like a wrist rocket bow fishing. I was thinking about rigging one of those up.
Yeah, I think, what was it, like a Hawaiian sling?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Same kind of concept. All right, we got 12 people here joining us today. Guys, don't be shy. Go here and get over in that chat. Let us know where you're watching this from today and how you came across this. We'd love to hear from you. I've caught crappie on Black Creek. Black Creek, me and Bubba have about the same opinion of Black Creek, at least when it comes to bass fishing.
Well, I mean, it seems like they're either there or they're not.
Well, then again, what was it? It was like wintertime when we fished. I don't know. It was still kind of chilly.
Yeah, it was. It's Black Creek is one of those kind of like extreme kind of creeks where you got to figure out they have to be in the right part of like their transition. It seems like to be in there real thick because it drops off so fast. You're dealing with like a real short, shallow spot and then a steep drop off. And it seems like they're either in there or they're not if you're at, like the right time. That's been my experience. Is either I've been in there and caught them great or been in there and barely caught anything.
Yeah. Guys, if you're new to join us at Bait Shop Talk Live, if you leave something in the comment, it's going to take a minute for us to get to it because there's a delay from Google Hangout to YouTube. So that's why, if you say something, it takes us just a second to get to it. Boat update. Believe it or not, old Timmy's doing pretty good. When I had her at the Rodman, I got her up to 3/4 throttle now. I can get up to about 42, 43 miles an hour. So, yay, we're getting that much closer where I can start running it at wide open throttle again. and actually get somewhat kind of speed. I mean, I can't compete with guys that have the 250 outboards, but it's nicer than going faster than the trolling motor for once, and be able to cover some ground and get to some spots that I see on Google Earth. So that's where we're at on the boat. I think Bubba's got his boat kinks kind of fixed out for the most part. I know him and Timmy was out in it, and there's all kinds of chaos from that between hooks and legs and getting wrapped around crab straps.
Yeah, he hooked himself in the leg with that. He's got a habit of letting stuff kind of flop around a little bit, and he brought the red in and dropped it on the deck back there and let it do a little flopping around. So the fish actually got his revenge on him and hooked him right in the quad. But as far as boat goes, yeah, been perfect, no issues, everything's been great there.
Good deal. Glad to hear it. Rain, I know we were getting it like every day there for a while, but now it seems like we're going through a little drought. Side note, congratulations to the Jaguars. They won 31-13.
Yes.
Game's over, so everybody come check out Base Shop Talk. Tell your friends. Game's over. You don't need to be watching the TV no more. We know who won. Anyway, we were talking about the rain. It was raining every single day, and then it stopped. Now we're going through like a little dry spell, kind of. I kind of wish we'd bring the rain back. Rain. We're going to talk about how rain affects fishing. For me, it can be a double-edged sword. During the summertime, rain is a good thing because it cools that surface water temperature and it makes it more comfortable for the fish to come up and start being more aggressive in attacking baits. So let's say you had a water temperature of, I've seen it as high this year, it's like 90 degrees. That rain may drop it down to about 84, which is more comfortable for fish to come up, get some moving more, get some more active, just like us. We're more active outside when the temperature is like, mid-70s versus 97 like it has been lately. As fish are no different. They're going to be the same way. Now, a different note to that. Like I said, being a double-edged sword, if you're fishing a small body of water, I mean, even if it's just a canal off of a larger body of water, and I had this happen to me in Okeechobee, we went down like late winter. In February, March, around that. I think it was March. So it was still kind of chilly. It was in the 40s at night, and I was catching them. I caught them real good in a canal the first day. Well, it rained that night, and it dropped the temperature by like 6 degrees in that canal just by it raining, which totally shut the fish off. And I had to go back out to the main lake to find fish, where before it was the opposite. The bass are up in that canal for cooler water. And when it rained, it cooled it down. So the wintertime, rain is bad. Summertime, rain is good. That's basically how it works. It gets the movement, oxygenates the water. It gets a little bit of disruption, makes it a little murkier, harder for them to see your line and your hook. And like I said, when it's like the wintertime or fall or early spring, that rain can damage you. Guys, what have you noticed about it? Anything to throw in on that?
Yeah, with mine, to kind of add, I've noticed, about the same as what you said there. But one of the favorite things, I mean, everybody knows that, I'm a shallow backwater kind of guy anyway. One of my favorite kind of things about rain is whenever, the water level rises and everything floods out. This is for salt and fresh. Anything that's going to be shallow like that's going to start exploring that kind of new ground that's underwater, looking for, if it's salt, looking for all those fiddler crab holes that are not usually underwater, a little bit higher in the grass than normal. So all your bait fish get pushed up in there, and freshwater, they're looking for all those kind of bugs and stuff that all get, whenever that stuff floods out a lot. So I love, and it's been, like Joe was saying, it drops the temperature. It's more oxygen. So that stuff that's coming in, that's right there at the surface, that's higher water level than normal. It's real good shallow fishing. If it's right around the time of rain, love top water over stuff like that. Where you're fishing like basically new wet ground. That's got the water level up. Alex, what about you in the rain, man?
Coming from a predominantly bank angler, background when I was younger and not having access to a boat or anything, rain is. It can either really help, like in the middle of the summer, when it's water temperatures reaching 95, 100 degrees, on the top of the water, if it rains a little bit, if it rains for 20 minutes to about an hour, it'll cool it off just a little. The bite might pick up a little from what I've seen. But if it rains for any longer than that, the water's going to get murky, fishing's going to shut off, conditions are going to be bad. So it just seems hit or miss. So I'll usually, if it starts raining, I'll wait it out for about 30 minutes. But then if it gets any worse, or if it continues raining, I'll usually leave because it's not going to be worth it.
Just had get out the house and go fish, and asked me, do you pay attention to the barometric pressure? I know a lot of people have it on their phone. And what he's referring to, barometric pressure, for those that don't know, generally a falling barometric pressure gets the fish more active and gets them feeding, and they're more likely to bite, versus a high barometric pressure, like after a cold front comes through, they generally to be more sluggish and kind of sit in one spot and really don't want to bite. And I don't pay attention to the barometer. I know it sounds corny, but I pay attention to the weather for that day. Like I was explaining to him in the comments, if you guys read, and I'm still going into some other stuff. If there's just like you go out and it's just a partly cloudy day, and all of a sudden like the wind picks up and you can just see a big bank of clouds come rolling in, and the rain starts hitting, then that means that pressure's dropping. You have a front coming in, or just a storm. And I've been out on a lake and had that happen to me, and it seems like every cast, if you're where the fish are, you're going to get hit every cast because they just go into like feeding frenzy mode. Now, on the backside of that storm, after it goes through and it clears out, and there's not a cloud in the sky, it's just bright sun, or what I call high skies, where the clouds are really high in the atmosphere. It's like them long, drawn-out, kind of hazy-looking clouds. That's a high-pressure day. You're going to fish really slow and throw more like finesse type bait, because those bass are going to be real inactive and they're going to lock down to related structure. And when I say related structure, I mean like a pylon, rocks, like hard structure, concrete. When me and Bubba went out early in the season on the St. John's, concrete was key. All the concrete docks had fish on them. We threw in grass, we threw in eelgrass, we threw in bulrushes, couldn't get a bite. Come to a concrete piling, bam, bass. That's just, they seem to relate to hard structure like that when it's high pressure. That's what I've noticed so far. So that hope that explains barometric pressure a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like you, where I watch the weather as much as anything. I try to be very minimalist on how much I rely on electronics. I try to use them as little as possible and almost kind of supplement whatever I'm feeling, if you will, fishing by feel. Because that's probably why we don't do a whole lot of like offshore deep water stuff. We do, river primarily. Joe does more lakes than I do because of the tournament stuff. But the vast majority of mine is either the St. John's River or a creek off the St. John's River, whether that's salt or freshwater. So as much as anything, I'm trying to go off of feel and not use electronics much, because I'm not over open water where I'm just looking down at water and trying to read it off my electronics. So I watch the weather on it too, and you kind of see that kind of pattern. Like he was talking about when we were fishing Palaca and everything was on concrete. We really did. We tried everything. We tried wooden docks. We tried metal bulkheads, grass, cattails, like kind of standing timber stuff. I mean, it was just that concrete was the ticket that day. But it's, you kind of find that pattern and then try to figure out how that relates to the weather and then go off of it from there.
Yeah, in our case, the concrete was absorbing what heat there was, and that was the warmest thing around, which was going through and heating up the water. So the bass were going to it kind of like we would go to a wood burning stove if we was at a hunting camp or somewhere and it's cold outside. You're going to go to wherever the heat was. So that's pretty much what the bass were doing, and all of a sudden, oh, look, here comes the swim jig. So that's how that went. And speaking of using electronics and everything, I know I'm pretty heavy electronics. I have a Humminbird on the bass boat. I got a little Lowrance on the kayak, and I use them for various things, mostly for water temperature, of course, and then the depth I'm in. And if there's any fish, like when it comes to saltwater, if you can find a deep hole, it seems like that's where they hang out at, and you can use that electronics to see if anybody's home or not. That way, you know whether or not to waste your time. And I know a lot of people don't have that kind of electronics. They don't have a boat. They don't have something permanent. Maybe they rent a boat or they borrow a buddy's kayak, or they don't even have anything. They just fish from the bank. So that's why I'm going to turn it over to Alex, because he used to field staff for a very nifty little invention called the deeper. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It basically looks like an 8-ball that you use in pool, and you tie it onto your reel and you throw it out, and it gives you sonar images instead of having a screen locked to your boat. You got it on your phone and you can carry it anywhere. I mean, is that kind of pretty simplified, Alex?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a portable sonar. You know, it's the Deeper Smart sonar, but they're portable, and it's literally just a little handheld. He's right. You know, it's about the size of a pool ball. I would kind of relate it to that, but it's small. Doesn't weigh a lot. You can cast it out. They've got a arm attachment that you can put on your kayak. They've got a new one out now that attached to the gear tracks, and it's got 3 hinges on it now, or 2 hinges on it, where the deeper attaches. So even if you rock in your kayak or your John boat or whatever boat you got, you know, you've got the deeper in the water, and just connects right to your phone. And I really enjoy it because as a bank angler, primarily, you know, I'm getting more into kayak fishing because now I have that freedom to. But now as a predominantly, or, you know, as I was a bank angler, and I still am, you know, primarily, it really helps because I can go to all these different places. You know, I can go to that pond that's behind the bank, or I can go to that pond that's, you know, next to the warehouse or something. I can cast out and I can see, okay, there's structure here, there's nothing here. It's too hot, you know. I'm only in a foot of water, that's why I'm not catching anything. You know, there's things that it can tell me, and I can create my own bathymetric maps off of it. That's really nice to do. I can pull that up later. I can pull it up on my computer to look at it. I can, you know, share with my friends. I've put it in my videos a lot. If you guys have seen my videos, you know, I'll record my screen. I'll show you what I'm doing. But it's great if you don't have, you know, the big, you know, hummingbirds or the other big, you know, boat sonars or anything, and you just need something quick and portable that you can detach and take with you or charge or whatever.
That's what I was going to ask. So it does do that. Like you can map a body of water with it, and then go back and look at it later. Okay, cause I was completely personal with you know, without regards to the stream, because I was thinking about grabbing one because I do so much kayak stuff, and you know, like I'll poke around with a lot of bank stuff when I can. But that was my question, is if you can do that, because I think their competition doesn't do that.
Yeah, I've actually done a comparison video that's on my channel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I've done a comparison video between the Deeper Pro, I believe, or maybe it was, I don't know, the Deeper. I want to say the Deeper 3.0 and the iBobber, and I used a I'm pretty sure that was it. Yeah, the Deeper 3.0 and the iBobber. Yeah, but I used both of them, and I, you know, looked at them, same body of water, same day, same everything, same conditions, and in my experience, I would definitely go with the Deeper, just because it gives you more information, and I like having that as an avid angler. Of course, they do have like the Start now that they've just come out with, and that is, you know, super easy to use. You just attach it to your phone, cast it out, it shows you, you know, bottom contour and stuff of that nature, as well as fish. So it's easy. But I've got the Pro Plus, and I can do onshore GPS, which means I can cast it out, and then as I'm reeling it in, it actually maps it as I'm reeling it in, so I don't have to, you know, move around myself. But yeah, I've got a couple of bathymetric maps that like I can go and pull it up on my computer and see, you know, the areas of Doctor's Lake that I've mapped out. I can see areas in Indiana where I've mapped out, in Tennessee where I've mapped out, because I've taken this thing as I've traveled, and it's a really good comparison to have, especially after the hurricane hit last year.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
After Irma hit, all of my spots, nothing was working. All my usual stuff, which I was kind of mad about because I had, you know, been spending the last 7-8 years learning, you know, these certain bodies of water, and then Irma came by and, you know, completely changed the contour and the bottom and the sandbars and the beds. Just everything was changed, so I had to go back out, learn everything, and it made it a lot quicker, so I could see all that on my phone, and I didn't have to worry about, you know, spending an arm and a leg to find that out.
Trust me, you ain't the only one that Irma messed up. I finally learned how to fish the St. Johns River and fishing eelgrass, and then Irma came through and got rid of all the eelgrass. So now I got to start all over learning the St. John's River again.
Yeah,
but,
wrecked it all.
Right, wrecked it all. But you was talking about the eye bobber and the deeper. But my comparison with it is the deeper actually looks like a fish finder. Like it actually shows the contours and the fish, look like, you can see the soft and hard bottom and everything. Whereas the eye bobber, it kind of looks like a game you would play on your phone. It looks kind of cartoony, It's like the actual weeds. And I feel like I was playing a video game. That's why I didn't like it. I'm so used to looking at a hummingbird or Lowrance and, actual system. That's why, I would favor the deeper if I was looking for that, if I didn't already have stuff on my equipment. But like you said, you being a bank fisherman, that works great for you. It's like Bubba's doing some night fishing.
Yeah, man.
Thank God we see the glow. Now you kind of look like a air traffic controller sitting in the dark. Yeah, the power go out? What happened?
Nah, my light bulb up there went out, I think.
Really? All time for the light bulb to go out.
Of course,
Jason, right? Fine. Thanks for joining us, man. What's going on? Where was you at the beginning of the show? I know where you were at. You were watching the Jaguar game, probably.
Exactly.
That's where he's at. Each and every one of you guys, thank y'all for joining us. We love having you here every second Sunday of the month. We love having you here for Bait Shot Talk, and we got, graced with Alex's presence again. So that's really awesome. So, redfish fever, I think we've all caught it. It's safe to say that.
Yep.
I think what's funny is every one of us here have been killing the redfish this year. Or not this year, this month. They have turned on, and they are hot. They're everywhere right now.
Yeah, they're not messing around.
Yeah, well, you guys are the ones that got me off my butt to get the kayak out there in the saltwater. Like, Tim went out on some guy's flash boat down there in Palm Valley, and they were catching a bunch of redfish, and then Tim went back out with Bubba, and they were catching them in the creeks down there in the St. John's in Freshwater. They're catching largemouth and redfish. And I said, dude, I can't take this crap no more. I said, I can't let them have all the fun. I want my redfish fillet. So I went off the Hexer Drive, which is my stomping ground, and I put in one of my creeks. I think I've only put in there twice. It's not my normal places, but I always go all up and down Hexer Drive. That's just the side of the river that I fish. And the mullet sucked at the launch. I thought I was going to be able to go to the launch, cast the net, get some mullet, and then head on my way. I only got 3 mullet at the launch, so I had to go down and around the corner where the feeder creeks were, kill the mullet. Like 2 casts, and I had more than I knew what to do with. And so I did that, and then while I had line soaking, bam, got my first red for the year. It was a little rat red. If you guys, I put the video up last night. If you guys haven't seen it, it's the catch and cook redfish on the grill. That was another thing. Y'all been wanting me to do a catch and cook redfish, and it took me forever to catch one, but I finally did it. So if you haven't seen that, when we get done with here, go over to mine, and I put it up last night. So it's the newest video. So I caught that one, and while I was messing around with the mullet trying to get them out of the net, my Vexen rod, my inshore Vexen, went off, grabbed it, and it started peeling drag, and I instantly knew what I had. And it was a big old redfish. And how I had that one set up was I just had a jig head. It was a 1/4 ounce jig head, neon. It was the Real Habit jig heads. They made local right here in my hometown. And they sell them like at Browns Creek and all the local bait shops all along the river. Great jig head, very sharp. It was time to all my other ones were getting adult. So anyway, I just had a 1/4 ounce jig head, about a 4-ounce live or 4-inch live finger mullet. Just had it soaking. I just, like, once again, remember we were talking about you find those deep holes, and a lot of those big predator fish sit in those deep holes waiting for bait fish to flow over the top of them as the tide runs. And that's what I did, and it turned out to be a 19.5-inch redfish. Brought him home, filleted him up, put him in a full pack, and grilled him. I wish I had some onions and peppers, like I said in the video, that I put him on top of. That would just set it off. But I did have the Everglades on it. You cannot cook fish fillet without Everglades, unless you're frying it, of course. But even then, I'll put it in the batter. So that's been my redfish experience. Alex, you don't have video up yet of you caught 2 redfish the other day.
Correct. Yeah,
so, tell the stories. I haven't heard it yet. Bubba hasn't heard it yet. I want to hear this.
Yeah, so I went out, like I said, if you've seen my most recent video of me fishing Fort George, it was rough to say the least. I was battling the tide and 30-mile-an-hour winds. I got one bluefish within an hour of being there, and then the next 7 hours I didn't get anything. But I had gone out and I said I'm going to stick it out. I didn't get anything, but I still had a good time. So I went out, I got in touch with a couple buddies of mine and another YouTuber actually. And
Get out the house and go fishing.
No, Mac Tension Fishing. Went out with him. I don't know if you guys. He's got a smaller channel. He's started recently. So he's
the guy that you went flounder gigging with.
No, that was an old friend of mine, that I used to work with actually when I used to work at Dick's Sporting Goods. But no, so I went out with these two guys, and they know the creeks. They go kayak fishing. They know what they're doing. They know what to throw, how to throw it, where to throw it. You know, tides, the whole 9 yards. I said, you guys take me out, show me what I'm doing wrong, show me how I can do this better. So I went out and I was looking at you know, the creeks, and I'm, you know, trying to figure out for myself what was going on, and I was completely wrong because I was talking with them and they're showing me I was wrong. But in the video that's going up Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, I've got it set to go up. I take the deeper out, and I find, like you were talking about, I find a deep dropped off to about 12 foot. And I went to the opposite bank because there was a sandbar, and I just cast across the the inshore there, the intercoastal creekway. Live finger mullet, 1/2 ounce weight, 2/0 hook, and just let it sit there for a little while. And I was limited out. I had two 21-inch redfish limited out within an hour of each other. After finding that spot, getting the mullet in the cast net, and letting the bait soak for just a little bit, man, it was a lot of fun. Nice fish fillets. I prefer my redfish blackened, so I made some blackened redfish fillets last night with some mac and cheese and garlic mashed potatoes and Texas toast, and it was amazing. I'm going out again, hopefully soon.
And why was I not invited over for dinner? I mean, yeah, I was going. I mean, I live at Blacken too. That'll probably be my next thing, but I can't deviate from the plan. I promised the people grilled redfish, and that's what I gave. That's what I did. And you sound just like me. I found a deep hole. If I wasn't there 10 minutes, and I had bam, bam, back to bite hits, and then the tide stopped, and that was it. Albatross was talking about he's going to Fort George Inlet, which is the stomping grounds of me and get out the house, go fishing, and now apparently Alex is invading too. So, but we all do things a little bit different. Alex puts in on the east side. I put in on the west side where the boat ramp is, and usually like I'll put in, and like Alex was saying, you have to judge those tides to make it better for you. What I'll do is, if it's an outgoing tide, I'll use the tide to get me out, and I'll go towards Huguenot Park, where all those little channels and sandbars and everything are at, and I'll go in there, and I'll fish the incoming, and I'll stay there, and when it's outgoing tide, or no, sorry, that's the outgoing tide, and I'll stay there and fish. When the tide starts coming back in, right at the tail end of it, I'll come back and use the tide to get me back to the boat ramp to come in. And also, if you stay out there, especially during the summertime, I think we're a little bit past it now, maybe not. When the tide gets real high and you can still see those sandbars, you'll see redfish, like how you see in the Keys, on those sandbars in little packs, cruising along those sandbars. And you can take a shrimp on a jig head and flip it right out in front of them, and you better hang on. And also, black drum have been known to be on top of those sandbars during high tide too. So a little tip for those that go out there. If you hang in there, just try to stay out. Just try to stay out of the way of the jet skis and the wakeboarders and everything. Because I don't know why it's just everybody's favorite place to go. I guess they think it's like a little ocean swimming pool area. But that's fine. When that big bull shark comes by, that'll change your mind. I've seen one or two, and believe it or not, I've seen a barracuda out there in Fort George Inlet. I'm not talking about a little 1-foot barracuda. I'm talking about like a 4-foot ocean barracuda. I didn't know. I had no idea they came in that close. I've seen them off the wrecks and stuff all the time. But I didn't know they came in shore. That was the biggest barracuda I've ever seen in shore. Was at Fort George Inlet. So don't be dangling your toes off your kayak.
Yeah, I mean, we used to fish the bridge out there a lot and catch, just everything right around the bridge. And a lot of times you'd have like a little small black drum or something like that, or a little baby sheep's head, and it would just take off screaming and then come back bit in half. And that was a lot of time a barracuda, sometimes a shark. But albatross too. Check out like Google Maps satellite view of it of Fort George Inlet. Because like we're all talking about those sandbars and those deep holes. Check out like a low tide version of it, and you can see where those deep holes are and where those sandbars are. Really good on that. I mean, it shows every bit of it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say where, but I have my favorite spot out there. And if I catch any of you out there, I'm going to cut you. No, for real though. I'm not going to say where out there, but there's a spot where it's shallow and it just drops off into a deep hole. And on the incoming tide, that water kind of flows over that hole like a kind of like an underwater waterfall kind of deal. And all the mullet come pouring over it, and it tumbles them around, and they get confused, and the sea trout just rush in there and tear them up. I haven't caught any redfish out of the spot, but I've killed the sea trout out of there along with some jacks and other stuff like that. So look for things like that. Where it's just a flat, and it's probably 2 to 3 feet. And it just drops off into like an 8-foot hole. That's what you're looking for, and that's where those predators are going to be. And you can't get them until that current gets moving to get those bait fish all stirred up.
Can you see me now?
Oh, I can see you very well.
I fixed the light bulb.
Nice. Well, is that your lucky fishing shirt? But not your lucky light bulb. I see that.
Right. Don't wash.
Yeah, just
not,
like
not
it's a
really
pain
a shirt.
Yeah. So, Bubba, go ahead and tell us about your brackish water redfish experience that you had the other day. And what do you think your key was to actually, kind of separating getting redfish from largemouth?
I mean, so I went through the story earlier about how it was just an absolute wreck on what actually happened catching it, where, it got me all losing the reel, torn up and everything. But what we were throwing that day, and, because Tim was asking me about it, he went, like Joe was on somebody's flats boat and got his first redfish. So he called me up and he's like, "Hey man, do you want to go redfish?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take you. Let's go." And he's asking me what to bring, and I was like, "Well, you can catch them on a ton of stuff, but right now, first thing you want to tie on is a spook that looks like a mullet." And that was really our key was imitating mullet, because I caught a bunch on a crank looking like a mullet too. We were throwing incoming tide, shallow fishing pools deep pools right by grass. But they were keying up on mullet. I tried throwing a few different things. The only other thing that we caught one on was like a Texas rig crawfish, looking like a fiddler crab. But mullet was the key for that. I was throwing I think mine was actually a bomber, but it was like silver. I think Tim's was maybe like a bone color. I can't remember, but yeah, it was all about the mullet imitation there. And that was, went night fishing out at Fort George Inlet probably 3 weeks ago now, and caught, a few out there, but everything, the same thing was either on, live finger mullet or mullet imitation. So that for me lately has been the key, because every time I've thrown, we were talking about the shrimp earlier, every time I've thrown, like a shrimp or a shrimp imitation, it's not reds. I'm catching whiting, I'm catching jack, I'm catching stuff that I'm not singling out those reds. Mullet has been the key for singling out reds for me lately.
Yeah, there's another fella that I ran into during my trip. He was in a Hobie and had a wrap on it, and he was mostly after flounder, but he said the only thing he could catch anything on was mullet. For all this mullet run right now, that's what these fish are keyed in on. And that redfish I caught, you'd think when I went to cleaning, every time I catch a redfish, I always see what they're eating. That way I know kind of what to use for bait for next time. And when I cut him open, you'd think it'd be full of finger mullet, and he did not have the first kind of bait fish in his stomach at all. And he didn't have shrimp in there either. What he had in there were baby stone crabs. His stomach was just full of baby stone crabs, and you can tell it was the big giant whole can claws that they had on them. So yeah, that was interesting. So maybe I think Gulp makes a crab. So
they do. They do. Yeah, they do. What's up, Jason Fine? You talk about the A rig. I got one for that I have caught them on before. But talk about stone crabs. I've done really good on stone crabs, Goat Island, because there's a bunch of little stone crabs around there. Using them, I've done really good over there. But yeah, Gulp makes a crab. I've never tried it. I don't know how well it works, but I imagine it will work as good as anything else.
Something for me to try.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I wouldn't see any reason it wouldn't work. Everything else Gulp works, right?
Well, I mean, they say you want to match the hatch, and apparently that's what that particular redfish was keying in on, was crabs. But at the same time, he still ate my mullet. So, something to try, and even get out of the house. He just asked the same question. Anyone ever use those Gulp crabs? Now, I don't know if guys, if you're watching this and you have used them before, head over to the chat. Let us know how they work. Yeah, he's going to try them. I'm going to try them. I mean,
yeah, might as well, right?
Ain't hurt anything. That's going to be my next trip. I want to go back. I want to go to Fort George Inlet, and it's going to be an artificial only trip. I'm not, unless things get really bad and I'm really hungry for some sea trout and red. But I'm going to try to throw just artificial. I'm going to try to throw just my Mirrodine, Gulp, topwater, all that crap, and maybe some crabs. I don't know. I mean, maybe some Gulp crabs. If anything, I'm sure Brown's has got them. You stop by Brown's Fish Camp. That's like my favorite place to go to when I stop by. You get a bucket of ice for $1. I mean, come on. That's better than the ice machine. It actually
Talk
works.
About that A-rig. You talk about the A-rig. Joe knows I love it. Live Target makes a little like miniature A-rig. It's called a bait ball. Man, I've caught trout and reds on that thing too. I've caught everything.
Destroy it.
Dude, they do, but you can get the paddle tails on that thing are like 1.5 inches, 2 inches long. You can get a replacement pack of those for dirt cheap. The trout tear it up. The reds don't really do too much to it, but trout destroy it.
I think for the A-rig, Jason was talking about it. He had no success with it either. I think it's one of those cases. It's going to be more of a trout bait than anything else. And if you can find a school of trout, I don't know why you couldn't bring back like 4 at a time. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
like four 18, 19-inch trout on that thing. Yeah. Oh man, you're almost done one hit. So we just had a holiday pass and get out the fish. It was get out the house and go fish. We're just talking about this. Like Fort George Inlet is one of those places where there's jet skiers and wakeboarders and like just everybody and their brother goes out there. And God help you if you go fishing in one of them places on Labor Day weekend or Memorial Day weekend and things like that during any kind of holiday during the summer. It's a 3-day weekend. You are going to have a bad day at the boat ramp. Like I don't even bother going to the boat ramp. So that's what we're going to talk about. Is how do you beat the traffic on the water during the holidays, like the 3-day weekends when you know the ramp is going to be just packed? My idea of beating it is going to the Kingfish boat ramp on Hexter Drive with a cooler, a lounge chair, and a video camera, and watching all those people that just bought a boat trying to back down a trailer for the first time. That's how I beat fishing on a weekend. I just embrace it. Just embrace the suck. Just instead of going fishing, just laugh at everybody else that's trying to go for the first time. No, the way I beat it is I get the kayak. And I go to an unpopular kind of tourist spot, I guess you could say, or a water skiing spot or hot spot. The boat ramps on the St. John's are going to be packed, like the main boat ramps. Hexter Drive, all the kayak launches are going to be full. So go find you a pond, a backwater creek, a canal, something like that. That way you can still get your fishing in. You don't have to deal with the traffic. You have to deal with the traffic on the road. You don't have to deal with the boat traffic. And God forbid, don't go to Kingsley on 4th of July weekend. You will not get the line wet at all. I don't even like to fish the regular weekend. I'm fortunate enough where I get Wednesdays and Thursdays off once in a while, and also Monday and Tuesday in there too. So I try to go on a weekday. Like I'm going to be fishing Rodman here on a Friday here. I know a lot of people will have Friday off, but it's not going to be nowhere near as bad as it would be a Saturday or Sunday morning. So it's a lot easier for me to get out there on a weekday, and there's less people to deal with. I know Captain Dave with Captain Dave's Fishing the Charter Boat. He likes to go. He doesn't like to fish weekends either for that very same fact. And I know he puts in on the other side of the river, like where Jack's Beach and all that stuff is. So it's even worse. So that's what That's what I try to do. And but at the same time, holidays can be a good thing. Mikey Balls Fishing made a very good point. He says the 2 best days to go fishing, to go to the lake, are Thanksgiving and Christmas Day.
That's true.
There is going to be no one on that lake or body of water those 2 days. You will have the whole place to yourself. So, I mean, Thanksgiving is one thing. You could go Thanksgiving morning. If you're not the one doing the cooking, you can go Thanksgiving morning. Go get you some fall bass fishing in, or go get you some fall sea trout in. I know November I will be killing the sea trout. You guys be looking for that video. I can't wait myself. And then Christmas, celebrate Christmas Eve. Go ahead and do your exchange the night of Christmas Eve, and then you can go out to the lake or the river Christmas, and I will guarantee you will be the only soul at the boat ramp. If not, then you're going to have some other hardcore fellows right there with you. So that makes it a little bit better. So that's my approach to dealing with the weekend. I don't know if we have anybody that lives around the Palm Coast area, and I really hate to give this away, but there's so many canals all down in Palm Coast, saltwater and freshwater, and they're both just packed full of fish. So that's one of those places you could, if you knew somebody that lived on those canals, and there's also little areas you can back a car or a truck down to, launch your kayak, you have the whole canal to yourself. You want to fight all the wakeboarders and skiers and everything out on the main bodies of water.
Yeah, you talk about Christmas, talk about doing it on Christmas Eve, man. The Yellowmouth video I did last year was Christmas Eve, actually, and the only other people in the water was guys running crab traps. Christmas Eve is a good day because everybody's, they're getting ready for Christmas. They're all sitting at home, not doing anything. But I do the same thing. I got a couple little spots that are off the beaten path that I drop the kayak in on those kind of crazy holidays. That's whenever I went. This past one, I was saying I was bass fishing and did pretty good was Labor Day. Dropped the kayak in a little spot by the house over here that I've never even seen another kayak or John thing on it. But that's I do the same exact thing. I get off the beaten path. Usually, I'm not. You talking about fighting boat ramp traffic, man? That holiday boat ramp traffic.
Well, like I said, it's like a double-edged sword. You can use it and just go entertain yourself. Get you a buddy and a cooler and some drinks, and go chill at the boat ramp and make you a funny boat ramp fails video to put up on YouTube for that day. Alex, what'd you do 4th of July and Labor Day weekend and everything? Did you just avoid it altogether or what?
So Labor Day was the day that I went to Fort George and had that terrible day of fishing. That was
you fought it.
I knew better. I know better. I do. So I went out. I tried doing it. It completely backfired. I'm not exaggerating when I say there was at least 20, maybe 25 people jet skiing out there, like in one little area, not like going up and down and spaced out. Like they were ripping around each other and jumping off each other's wakes, and there was boats, and there was. It was just a mess. What I did for 4th of July was a lot smarter. I ended up last year I went to Lake Bethesda Park up in Jacksonville on the northwest side. But then this year I think I went. I think I did the same thing. I think I just went pond fishing. I avoided the big areas. I just went to the little local. Like I was talking about, lakes behind the banks and then next to warehouses and the retention ponds and stuff like that, golf course, whatever. I just went there and fished there, and I didn't have as much of a problem.
All right. Well, guys, it's definitely been over an hour. We're getting there, so we're going ahead and kind of slow things down, wrap it up. We're going to open it up to Q&A. If you have any questions specifically you want to ask us, be it about a certain area, saltwater fishing, freshwater fishing, rigs, tackle, kayaks, boats. If you just want to pick our brain, or you want to give some info yourself to help other people out, please do put it over there in the chat. And be sure before you sign off and leave here, leave us a thumbs up. It's what keeps us going. It's what keeps us coming back here every month to do this. And we definitely thank Alex for filling in for Timmy. Even though that would be entertaining, with seeing Timmy on here with some big Ray-Bans, just kind of like looking around like this, not knowing where the computer screen is.
Diesel.
Yeah, we just let him think that the podcast is still going 2 hours later is what we do with him.
Well, I'm too, talk about asking questions and stuff like this. We are building like a little community here. If any of you local guys, I don't know about Joe, any local guys, that are in here all the time, you ever want to go fish? I'm open to, to going out there with you. We can go take the kayaks out, or you can come with my boat. My boat ain't nothing fancy, but
damn sure ain't nothing fancy.
No, but it damn sure catches fish too.
Jason's wanting to know how the pond's going. I've been leaving the summertime now. I really haven't been fishing the pond. I'm trying to, the water temperature's real hot. I don't want to stress out the bass. And I don't know where all my newborn fingerlings went. All the new bass that were like 4 inches long, I haven't seen a one. They've all disappeared. I don't know if they are doing really good at hiding, or they went deep, or they're like really hiding really good in the palace, or they all got eaten. I don't know.
I snuck in there when Joe was out of town and dumped some mudfish in there. That's where they all went.
Hey, I do have some invasive species that showed up in the pond though. Like I did not put in there, and they're minnows. They're them gambusias, the mosquito fish.
Huh.
They have found their way in there, be it birds or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is that's just kind of cool. It's kind of interesting how I have nothing to do with that. I'm a long way away from any big body of water, and then all of a sudden, minnows show up in my pond that I didn't put in there.
Life will find a way.
Life will find a way.
Exactly.
The bass are doing good. They're still roaming around the edges and little wolf packs going around. They're getting longer, but they're not fat. They're kind of more shaped like a torpedo right now than a football. But I got a feeling that's going to change. The bluegills have been spawning like crazy, and there's just hundreds of thousands of little year-of-the-young bluegill about 1.5 inches long all over the pond. So when they grow to be about 3-4 inches long, those bass are going to have plenty of food to eat and get fat, and hopefully they'll get bigger, which means next year when they spawn, they'll produce more eggs. They'll be a better spawn and better recruitment. So that's what I'm hoping for next year. I'm wanting a couple years to go by and let them get pretty big, and then I'm going to add some more a different strain. I'm going to add some bass from the St. John's. Like if I get a big 8-7 pounder, I'm going to put those genetics in the pond. That'd be great. But I got to let them get big enough where that 8 pounder won't eat them. That's the problem. Right now they're about 13, 14 inches long, like in that area, but still aggressive. They'll hit shoelaces if you throw them in there. They're crazy aggressive still. But they've been hiding out in deep water in the afternoons, and you'll see them. It's weird. During the middle of the day is when they hunt. Like around 3 o'clock, you'll see them roaming the banks. And then when the sun starts going down, when they should be out, they go deep. It's weird. The bluegill got huge. I guarantee you I have multiple 1 pound, 1.5 pound bluegill in there right now. When the feeder goes off, it looks like piranhas. They're throwing water like 2 feet in the air when they hit the feet. So I'm probably going to do a video about that soon. I'm going to get some crickets or worms or something like that, because for some reason they won't hit beetle spins or nothing, very rarely. But they will eat live bait. And I'm going to try to get some bluegills and show you those guys. Show you those guys how big they're doing. Love showing off the pond. Love seeing how it's going. I love watching it because I learn something every time I go down there. And, Bubba, I want to do something with you and me. I want you to come up here to my neck of the woods, up here on the St. Mary's River. I want us to go out, and we need to go catch the catfish, buddy.
Let's do it.
I need about 6 or 8 channel cats to put in the pond. I need a cleanup crew because that's where I clean my redfish and stuff at, and I throw the remains in the pond. I mean, the bluegills peck on it and everything, but a channel cat would make short work of that, and they don't get too bad. They don't overpopulate, and plus they're tasty. And so I want to get some channel cat and some red breast sunfish to add to the pond.
Well, I'm pretty good at both of those. I was telling Alex, Joe he needs to get him a deeper so he can map out his pond and see where they're all hiding at,
Or I could just launch the skeeter in there.
Oh, God.
Yeah. You just troll around the whole thing in a couple minutes.
With the side scan on. Oh man, that'd be perfect. Right. When the water clears up, dang, I missed get out the house, go fishing, leaving. My bad. I'm sure he'll hopefully find out that, say goodbye. When the water clears up, which is usually when it starts getting cold, is a sad thing. I'm gonna put the GoPro on my head. I got my scuba equipment, and I'm going to dive the pond and let you guys see all the underwater view of how everything's doing. Here's kind of the underwater view. You'll see something that looks like that swimming around, but bigger.
How clear is it, like, normally? Like, whenever it does clear up, how clear does it get?
Oh, it can get like 6 feet, like six feet of visibility. It gets real clear during the wintertime. There's not as much rain, so there's no sediment. And I fertilize during the summertime, which gives it a plankton bloom, and it makes all the little microscopic, deals for the baby fish that hatch to eat. That's why you fertilize during the summer. So that's, man, if that ain't enough information on the home pond, I don't know what is. Jason, I hope that satisfies you. Anybody else got any questions out there? Like I said, me and Bubba were planning different trips. I'd love to have Bubba come up here to the St. Mary's River and fish it with me. Me, Bubba, and Timmy are going to go after hybrid striped bass here when the fall gets, and we definitely got to return back to the Swanee River to catch a Swanee bass.
Hey, after that joker hooked himself with that redfish, I'm fishing the front with you. He can have the back to himself.
Who, Tim?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You talking about, oh, yeah, they're going to flop around way more than redfish.
Yep. So he can have the back to himself. I'm coming up front with you. I ain't taking no stray hook from Tim.
Yeah. Alex, any upcoming fishing plans you got that you...
Not a ton. I actually just got texted by the guy that I went out flounder gigging with. He's out at Fort George, and he said that the mullet are running so thick he can't see the sandbars to actually gig flounder because they're running too thick. He said he had to throw at least 50 of them out the boat because they kept jumping in his canoe. So that's insanity. That makes me want to go out there and go fishing. Yeah. But I definitely want to do a lot more. I want to hit as much kayak fishing as I possibly can because I hear that, trout and sheep's head and whatnot are really good in the wintertime. The problem with that is I hate the cold weather. I can't stand cold weather. So as soon as it gets cold, I'm going to be it's going to be a lot of magnet fishing videos or something.
You're lucky that you live in Florida, so we get like 4 days of cold weather, and then you're good to go again. But you heard it here first, guys. Bait Shop Talk Live. We get live updates as they happen.
That's right. Fishing reports as it's happening.
As it's happening on the water.
That got me thinking, though, isn't that crazy how the freaking fish know that that's coming? How I was saying earlier that the only thing that I could separate the reds from everything else with was mullet pattern, and then 7 days later, mullet run is on.
Oh, mullet run is definitely on, and it should be going till probably early November. So definitely key in on that while you can. Guys, get out there and wet a line for sure. Saltwater is definitely on, except for the poor fella who we just talked to that was from Utah. You want to buy a plane ticket if you want to catch that bite.
Sorry, bud.
Sorry. But he gets to go catch cool stuff that we don't get to catch, like the trout. And I don't know if they have salmon, like a salmon species in Utah or not. I know they got cold water species. That's something else I missed out on this year. Usually I go to the mountains every year and go catch rainbow trout, and I didn't get to do that this year either.
Well, you did mention it, so I'm gonna stress how much I want to get back out there and get on those Swanees. So I got to take another run at it.
Yeah, and so does that mean you and me are gonna go out Christmas and catch yellowmouth trout?
Hey, we can. I'm down for that.
Go out to Goat Island.
Yeah, man.
Apparently there's a Goat Island where Zoffinger lives too. He did.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
His Goat Island is apparently way better than ours.
Yeah, I mean, ours doesn't have goats anymore. Rusty B says, he reads a lot about like lower jaw damage from grabbing a fish. So holding them different like that. I know everybody's kind of different on it. I think, generally I try to baby anything that I would consider a big fish, in that kind of respect.
For me, I'd say like 2.5 and up.
Mine's probably a little heavier, but not much. If it's something that's like 3+, if I would call it like, oh, that's a good fish. If it's like 3 to 5, then it's starting to get the baby treatment there.
Anything that I don't consider a dink, I try to take care of. If anything, if you hold them vertical, like straight up and down, you're pretty much good. But if don't just crack their jaw. If you're going to turn your hand, put your hand underneath their tail, hold them up.
Exactly. Yeah, I use fish grips a lot.
Tight lines, Jason. Thanks for joining us, Jason. We'll see you next time. We're fixing to get out of here too. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Alex.
No worries. And but I use fish grips, which I get a lot of flack for. People are like, oh, don't be afraid of the fish. They're not going to bite. Da, da, da. It's not that I'm afraid of the fish or that I'm afraid of getting bit. I have no problem with that, but I've been told by a lot of marine biologists and people that study these fish scientifically that fish grips help protect the fish. They reduce the stress on the fish. It's better for their jaws, and it's just better overall. So that's what I do, but I get a lot of flack for that. I'll tell you what, a lot of people give me crap for that, and it's a little daunting sometimes.
Yeah,
I mean, there's going to be haters out there. I mean, it's just really, what you're comfortable with. Saltwater, you're very hard pressed to find me putting my thumb in anything saltwater's mouth.
Yeah, I was laughing at Tim. He was like, "Are you lipping that red?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm lipping it."
I'll lip a red to a certain size, and then after when they start getting the 20-something inch range, and they start getting some.
Yeah, they start getting some real teeth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, it's got to be over the limit for me to worry about it.
Yeah, but you're grabbing them like you would like a big blue cat or something in the corner where they don't have any teeth.
Yeah, that's the trick, guys. If you want to lip reds, that's what I was telling Timmy because he was asking me about lipping that 26-incher. Got to slide down in the corner of the mouth and kind of grab the gills up, like gill plate underneath it too. Because the thing with them is, it's not as much the teeth as much as whenever you get the teeth and they start thrashing. That's when they get you. So I'll lip anything that's slot basically. If it gets bigger than that, I won't lip it. But slide down in the corner of the mouth and they don't have teeth on it, and you're all right.
Yeah, even a largemouth, when they start getting big enough, their teeth are like 80 grit sandpaper. It'll tear a thumb up, But that's what I want to have at the end of a tournament day. I want my thumb to be bleeding because that means I had a good day.
Right.
Not to pick on Timmy any more than what we already have, but I think we ought to all get together and get him like a species chart. That way he can start finally identifying fish. Timmy's calling spots. Timmy's calling spots blue runners and whatnot.
It's all new to him, Yeah.
I know he's from Kentucky, but I like to pick on him about. That's like my one thing I like to mess with him about.
I did have him catch his first gar with me. That was the first time he's caught a gar. He caught like a probably 2.5, 3 foot long nose gar, and he's like, "Is that an alligator gar?"
For those, you got to go to the Akawaha. They got them like 6 to 8 feet there.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I was like, "Nah, man, we don't have alligator gar. That's a long nose gar." But yeah, so not to pile on him, but he did ask me, "Is that an alligator gar?"
Yeah, I think we need to change it up. We need to start going after some different species, but that can hold on for my tournament in saltwater. I was going to go surf fishing after work, but finances won't allow that. So sadly, I'm going to have to hold off on that. But I'm starting to be like Alex. I was on online the other day, and I was looking at surf rods. So I don't have an old lady to worry about spending my money with. So I can just go ahead and click add to cart and without any consequences. But I found a nice surf rod for I think $30. It's like a 2-piece. It's 10 feet.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pair that with a Cast King spinning reel, like a 4000 series, and I should be set. That'll be my first surf rod.
Really? I didn't know you didn't have one, man. That's if you want to go before you get that one, I got a few of them. That's luckily for me, I do have an old lady to spend money on and 2 kids to spend money on. But I came from saltwater fishing before. I've only been bass fishing like heavy like 2 years. Before that, I hadn't bass fished much since I was a kid. But I've got 2 surf rods that are over 10 feet, and then a couple of other small ones that are like 8 to 10 foot. But I've got one that's 14, man.
I'm good. I don't need a telephone pole. I'm just kind of surf curious right now, I guess you could say.
It's addicting.
It's fun.
I grew up doing it in high school, and you only needed a 7-foot rod because if you wanted to catch whiting, I mean, they were just on the backside of the surf. But if you want to start getting into more like drum and redfish and things like that, then you need a surf rod to get it up past the swell and everything. So that's why I'm looking at it. If anything, I'll get one, a cheapo, and see how it goes from there. Like I said, I'm not going to do it. I don't do it not even once a month hardly. But we'll see. We'll see. It's a lot more relaxing. I can tell you that. It's a lot easier to have everything in the bed of the truck and go. I gotta buy some more PVC too.
It's easy. It's quick. It's he was saying it gets addicting. Well, Alex, you do it for a few years, you'll get bored of it too, though, because it's a lot of casts staying there and wait too.
Yeah, I recently got maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I got back into bass fishing hardcore, and with tournament fishing, it's even more of a challenge. And I don't know what it is about that. It's just trying to figure them out makes it more appealing to me than like saltwater. Saltwater, I've kind of like find a hole, wait for the current, use good bait. Saltwater's done. Well, bass, they're always moving, always something's changing. And plus, I like to win. I'm very competitive, so I'm trying to find them. But I think we're going to wrap this up. We are way over our time limit. We usually try to keep it at about an hour, and we're way over that. So we thank every single one of y'all for joining us tonight. It's been a really great base shop talk. I've been watching the little Watching Now, and the numbers are higher than they've ever been. So we thank every one of you guys for joining us. Be sure to join us next month. Next month will be October, beginning around Halloween time, redfish, and sea trout time for sure. Rusty, thank you for joining. I was really hoping you was going to be there with us. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. So be looking for each one of our channel's videos. If you're not subscribed to our channels, go ahead and check us out. It's Bubba Outdoors and Alex with 90 Fishing or 904 Fishing Outdoor. So check Alex out. He's got some really cool stuff. And like I said, if you have any questions about it deeper, or you're thinking about getting one, Alex's channel is definitely the one to watch for deeper info. And we definitely appreciate him having us. And thank you all again. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button before you take off. And we'll talk to you later. Remember, we do more than this more. We'll see you out there next time. Take care.
See ya.